No one inside the paddock expected what would unfold next, and it would change everything for him, his team, and the entire season. The humid air of the 2026 Brazil Grand Prix was thick with more than just heat. It was thick with the scent of a multi-million-dollar disaster. As Toprak Razgatlıoğlu leaned his factory Yamaha into the final sectors at Goiânia, the bike didn't just slide, it revolted. To the cameras, it looked like high-stakes racing. To the engineers in the garage, it looked like a collapse. The revolutionary V4 engine the project Yamaha had bet its entire legacy on was failing. Toprak, the undisputed king of late braking, was being manhandled by his own machine. His rear tire was essentially liquefying within 5 laps, a victim of the V4's violent, unpredictable engine braking. The Turkish puppet master finished out of the points, a staggering blow for a rider of his caliber. The public autopsy began immediately. Critics called it a multi-million-dollar mistake, a desperate move by a manufacturer that had lost its way. But as the team packed their crates for Spain, a secret update was being flown in from Iwata, one that would either save their season or seal their fate. But behind the calm expressions in the hospitality suites, a civil war had been brewing for months. For decades, Yamaha's identity was built on the Inline 4 engine, the sweet M1 known for its surgical precision and cornering speed. It was the heart of Valentino Rossi's titles and Fabio Quartararo's dominance. Yet in the modern era of MotoGP, sweetness is a liability. Against the brute force of Ducati's V4 top speed and aerodynamic efficiency, Yamaha's DNA had become a cage. The decision to kill the Inline 4 was a blue shift plan that divided the factory. Old-school Japanese engineers, the guardians of Yamaha's heritage, clashed with a new wave of European leadership. Massimo Bartolini and Paolo Pavesio weren't just asking for a new engine, they were asking Yamaha to burn its history books. The tension was suffocating. If the V4 failed, there was no going back. They were caught in a technical purgatory, trying to master a 1000cc V4 for today while secretly building an 850cc prototype for the 2027 regulations. The pressure was mounting, and from that moment, nothing would ever be the same. But the real turning point happened away from the cameras, in the cold light of telemetry data. The demon haunting the V4 project had a name: aggressive deceleration. In the early rounds of 2026, the bike was an untamable beast. When Toprak or Fabio closed the throttle, the engine braking didn't just slow the bike, it hit like a sledgehammer. The ECU was locking the rear wheel inconsistently, making Toprak's signature stoppy-entry style, the very thing Yamaha hired him for, completely impossible. He wasn't just fighting his rivals, he was fighting the expectations placed on his shoulders since his move from superbikes. The psychological toll was visible. Inside the garage, whispers began spreading that the bike was fighting the riders. According to insiders, the telemetry showed a total lack of front-end confidence. If a rider doesn't trust the bike to stop, he won't trust it to win. Rumors suggested Toprak had given the engineers a chilling ultimatum: fix the deceleration or he'd reconsider his future in the blue colors. Yet as the paddock settled into the Circuito de Jerez for the April 2026 test, the atmosphere shifted. Yamaha arrived with a Package B update that few outside the inner circle knew about. The strategy was a radical pivot in electronic management. Previously, Yamaha's ECU tried to muscle the engine into submission. The new approach was about progressive distribution. They updated the ride-by-wire system to create a smoother transition between full throttle and the braking zone. They were essentially trying to program the soul of the old Inline 4 into the body of the V4. On day one, Fabio Quartararo and Toprak comparing notes was the most watched moment in the pits. For the first time all year, the rear tire wasn't skipping like a stone across water. The bike looked stable. It looked familiar, but the twist that followed would leave even the rival team members stunned. It wasn't just software. The breakthrough at Jerez had a secret mechanical heart. While the world focused on the electronics, Yamaha's engineers had pulled off a staggering feat of metallurgy. They had redesigned the crankshaft inertia. By meticulously changing the distribution of rotating mass within the engine, they allowed the V4 to slow down naturally. It was a high-risk gamble. Changing internal engine mass mid-season can lead to catastrophic vibration or reliability failures, but it worked. Coupled with a revised gearbox and seamless shift ratios, the bike no longer jumped during aggressive downshifts. Toprak was seen smiling in the garage, a rare sight in 2026. He could finally return to his signature style: extreme late braking and sliding control. Some mechanics claimed that for the first time, the bike was finally listening to its master. However, this was only the beginning of a far bigger storm. The stopwatch at Jerez doesn't lie, and by midday on the final session, the paddock realized Yamaha was no longer a backmarker. The data was explosive. Yamaha hadn't just found a fast lap, they had solved the tire wear crisis. The smoother engine braking meant the rear tire temperature stayed within the Goldilocks zone, improving consistency by nearly 15% over a race distance. Marc Marquez and the Ducati camp were seen hovering near the Yamaha monitors, their faces etched with a new kind of concern. The lap times were dropping. 136.4, 136.2, Yamaha was within striking distance of the red bikes. The narrative of the 2026 season was being rewritten in real time. The V4 was no longer a disaster, it was a weapon. But what the Paddock discovered next shocked everyone. As the sun set over the Jerez circuit, the true scale of Yamaha's redemption became clear. The V4 project was no longer a project of the future. It was a clear and present danger to the established order. The big twist? A leak from the technical inspection area suggested that Yamaha's 2026 V4 was already sharing parts with their 2027 850cc prototype, meaning their learning curve is now twice as fast as their competitors. They aren't just catching up for this season, they are preparing to leapfrog the entire field for the next era of MotoGP. The Jerez turning point was more than just a successful test, it was a resurrection. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu and Fabio Quartararo are no longer fighting for scraps, they are fighting for the podium. The Paddock has been warned, the blue shift isn't coming, it's already here. And the next race, it won't be about survival, it will be about